I think we need to thank Evan and his crew for all their hard work. Secondly, I want to thank all of you all for your hard work, the backbone, if you will. People who day in and day out, without any fanfare and without any proper thanks, get it done. Year in, year out, day in, day out. I'm not just sucking up, I'm telling it like it is. You all are absolutely core vital to what happens. And while I'm on that subject, we got to make sure that our candidates locally are successful. We got to make sure Rick is successful in his race. We got to make sure Doc is successful in his race. We got to make sure Larry is successful in his race. Who else we got here running?
Brenda Short's out there.
Brenda.
I just left you at the assessor's office.
That was a fun meeting.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, all of our candidates up and down the line. Mayor, you don't have an opponent. You don't have an opponent.
Oh.
Four.
Boy, you must be doing something right.
And obviously, I want you to help me. That goes without saying. I will tell you this. There are a lot of polls floating around out there, but there's something consistent in all the polls. Now, I don't want to tell you what my poll numbers are because I don't want you to relax. Let's assume we're behind. That poll that came out today that showed us 16 ahead, that's short. But the one thing that's consistent in my polls and all of the other polls that I've seen is that there is a gap between definite voters and likely voters. So if I'm up with definite voters, I'm up even more with likely voters. And that makes a heck of a difference in a race that's close. Particularly makes a heck of a difference in local races where every vote counts even more because the total turnout is going to be smaller in terms of the number of folks voting in a particular race. And it illustrates what's already been said. It illustrates what Evan said, it illustrates what Doc said, and it certainly illustrates what Rick said. And that is the enthusiasm gap between definite and likelies can make the difference in a number of races. Can make the difference between losing and winning in a number of our races. If they are close, that separation makes all the difference in the world. We go through cycles. And 06 was a D cycle. That means that the generic ballot favored the D. If you didn't know the R and you didn't know the D and you didn't have any preconceived notions one way or the other about who you were going to vote for. Now, I know that doesn't apply to the people in this room, but John Q. Independent, who can go either way, it was a D year, which meant that if they didn't know anybody else, they'd check the one with the D by it. Same thing occurred in 2008. It was a D year. But politics is cyclical. And this is an R year. Generically, if they don't know our people, if they don't know or have any other reason to specifically vote for the person, there's a greater number of them that are going to check the R than are going to check the D. That's just a fact of life. Now, we can overcome that. In fact, a lot of it's being overcome as we speak. I can promise you, my poll numbers really look good. Real good. And our advertising has been good, and hopefully that helps everybody up and down the ticket, because we're just telling the truth about where Arkansas is. And where Arkansas is compared to the rest of the country is nothing short of astounding. I was just in the assessors meeting, I showed them a map. One of 4 states not in financial trouble. North Dakota, Montana, Alaska, and Arkansas are the only 4 states that aren't in serious financial jeopardy as we speak. And these other states are firing people and raising taxes just to balance their budgets as they're required to do. And we don't have to do that in Arkansas. But it takes cooperation. It takes local leadership. It takes legislative leadership. And I can't tell you how important it is to elect people to the General Assembly that don't go in there with a preconceived notion to say no to everything that comes down the line. I mean, we got to have Doc in the Senate. There is absolutely no question. We got to have Larry in the House. We got to have our people sitting in that General Assembly, because I get a lot of credit and sometimes a lot of blame. But the first branch of government is the legislative branch of government for a reason. I mean, Constitution was set up that way, both federally and on our state level. It's the first branch of government because it's in charge of the public policy and it's in charge of the money. Now, I can beg and cajole and plead and threaten and do all things that governors or presidents do, but if the General Assembly says no, it doesn't happen. So I can't emphasize strongly enough how important it is to elect our folks. But then we end up cooperating with county government, cooperating with city government, and the ability to be able to talk to somebody that you trust is not going to immediately run trash what you say is vitally important to me. We've come a long way in this state in just a few years. We have elevated our game to the point that the rest of the country is looking at us and talking about us in favorable ways that we've never seen before. We've withstood the recession better than just about everybody else in the country. And we don't need to backslide. We don't need to go, and some of these people are making wild promises and wild accusations that are designed specifically to take us back. We can't have that. We need you. As has been said, nobody does this alone. I can make all the TV commercials I want to. I can do all the radio scripts. I can go to all the groundbreakings and plant openings and school celebrations I want to go to. None of that matches friends on friends, acquaintances on acquaintances, church members on church members, fellow colleagues on fellow colleagues, trying to, number one, get them to understand how important it is and who to vote for, and number two, making sure they go vote. So if you all will commit to help us get that done, if you all, I know many of you have already been doing it, you've been making hundreds of calls. 2 more weeks. We can stand on our head for 2 weeks. We can do this in 2 weeks. And as David Pryor said, the only way to run is, only 2 ways to run, scared and unopposed. Well, most of us aren't unopposed, so let's run scared. That doesn't mean we have to make wild promises we can't keep or do things that impugn our own integrity. But what it does mean is we got to work hard. So if you all will just commit for 2 weeks, work hard for all of our candidates and try to make sure we get everybody out to vote that we know would favorably help our candidates. We'll win this thing in 2 weeks. Up and down.
I've known Mike probably longer than anybody in this house today. And I can tell you there's a gentleman that you can count on. I counted on his word 20 years, 18 years ago.
A long time ago.
And I want you to know he's a man of his word. And if you people knock negative out of your talk and only positive, we can get these Democratic Party back where it belongs. When I was young, we voted an X. And when you were a Democrat, you got everybody in. You know what? We need to get everybody in now. It's not tomorrow, it's now, because elections started now. So get with Mike and be Democrats. If you're going to be Democrats, be Democrats. If you're not, get out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all very, very much. Let's keep it going.